I thought I was going to teach my 84-year-old grandpa how to use AI. Instead, he became better at it than me. This is my grandpa. We call him Poppy. He's 84 years old and he has been in the stock market for over 50 years. He used to track everything manually. Price history, custom formulas he built himself. There were spreadsheets inside spreadsheets. So I showed him Claude Code one day and honestly, I already knew he was going to run with it. Because that is just who Poppy is. He's not like most people his age. He does not stay in his lane. He does not stick to what he already knows just because it's comfortable. He sees something new and his first question is, how do I use this? And I think that is truly rare. A lot of the older generation, and I say this with respect, their thinking gets narrow over time. They find what works, they lock in, and anything new feels like a threat to what they've already built. And I get it, when you have 50 years of experience, why would you change? But Poppy never saw it in that way. He never thought, I am too old for this. He thought this is the next big thing, let me learn it. That mindset is the whole video. We'll come back to it later. But first, within one afternoon of me showing him Claude Code, he had connected it to MetaTrader. And now he uses it every single day at 84. Let me tell you who Poppy actually is, because this actually matters. He did not grow up with TradingView. He did not have a phone, a laptop, or real-time data feeds. He started trading in an era where you had to physically go to the stock exchange, stand in a building, and look through a telescope at a chalkboard to see the prices. A chalkboard with a telescope, that's how he got his data. And every day after he got home from work, he would sit down and manually draw out where the price had moved. By hand, on paper, every single night, building his charts one line at a time.
That's how it started.
And you were manually drawing these?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day I would draw those. This went to $3 in the end from 10 cents.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was how it was all done back in 1971.
He built trading systems in Visual Basic and Excel for 36 years, manually. And then he started over in something he had never seen before, because he recognized it was better. Now, Poppy told me a story once that I've never forgotten, and I am going to let him tell it to you himself. I remember the story from the chalkies.
The chalkies.
And when was that? When was that, Poppy?
Oh, I'll be back in the late 60s.
Yeah.
Early 70s.
Yeah.
1970s, not 1870s. And yes, they used to have them. There was no automated trading system in those days, and principally for you young blokes, I'm 84, but principally you young blokes, they used to have a handful of guys that used to be on a platform up in front of all us traders.
Yeah.
Us traders, I was a kid. And there'd be people, buyers and sellers, in what they called the pit at the start, at the front of it. And these guys would be yelling out, BHP at a certain figure, and somebody else said, yep, 52, 5,000,
yep.
blah, blah, blah. And they would exchange details, and the bloke up on the platform would run up and down with some chalk on a blackboard, and he'd rub out this, and he'd write down the new number. And then there'd be a what was he called, a carrier? Anyway, a runner.
Yeah.
And the runner would run up to this guy who'd just taken the order, and the other bloke, and they'd grab the tag, the piece of paper, and they'd take that back to their broker. And the broker would then edit it into a ledger, and then ultimately you would get, here, have a look at this. You would get something like that. That piece of paper, I bought for $400 back in 19 sometime, a long time ago. 30th November 1971. And a nickel. Nickel, I bought them for 10 cents, I think. And they went to $3. Wow. And then when they went to $3, this came from $400 to $10,000. Do you know what happened? The broker went broke. That's why I still got this piece of paper.
Yep.
And the broker went broke, and I lost all the money from me being elated. I could never sell them. And 2.5 years later on, I got that piece of paper back in the mail in those days, and the company was delisted. And that's why I've still got this piece of worthless paper. However, I did get more than double my money, as it turned out, with what happened when the broker went broke. The broker's Provident Fund paid.
That is who Poppy is. Someone who shows up every day, who fights for his position, who does not wait for permission, and 50 years later, he brought that exact same energy to Claude Code. Every Saturday, I drive to his house and we sit down and we debrief. His week, my week, the charts, what the market did. Sometimes we go until 1 in the morning, sometimes even 2. We could talk forever. And honestly, that time is a blessing. That is not just market talk. That is 50 years of knowledge passing down in the living room. You cannot get that from a course or a YouTube video. I get it on Saturday afternoons, over tea. He tried everything. He did not stop when one tool did not work. He just moved to the next one and kept going. Claude Code is what he is building it with at 84. So here is what I actually did. I set up Claude Code in the terminal, showed him the basics, the terminology, and how to talk to it. That was my part. What happened next, he figured out himself because Poppy already knew MetaTrader inside out. He already knew how to annotate charts, how to analyze price action, how to mark up exactly what he was looking at. He had been doing that for decades. So when he sat down with Claude Code, he just applied what he already knew. He started talking to Claude the same way he would analyze a chart, describing what he saw, what he wanted, and what the outcome should look like. He started with a small project, something simple, tested it, refined it, went back to Claude, adjusted, and then gradually over weeks, he converted his whole entire program. Everything he had built manually over years, rebuilt and automated through Claude Code. I did not teach him that workflow. He invented it, using tools he already understood applied to a tool he had just met. And that became his daily workflow. Screenshot, annotate, send to Claude, and refine. Now here's the part I want you to hear from him. Because a picture says 1,000 words, and so does Poppy.
To start Claude Code, you need so much data in a way. If you want to build a system like this, so complex system, a very complex system to build, but you needed that 50 years of experience to build something like this and integrate it with Claude. And when you integrated it with Claude, MetaTrader from Excel,
Yes.
and you pushed it over the code to Codex, and then you pushed it to MetaTrader. But when you had a different approach when you used Claude Code. It was like you started off with one project. You didn't feed the whole Excel spreadsheet to Claude Code just straight away off the bat. You started off slow and started all these different mechanisms first.
I started to learn, for instance, to try and draw multiple trend lines. So I didn't use the code that I use in this ultimate program here, right? Which is unique, incidentally, and I still haven't got it finalised properly.
Yeah.
But which basically comes down to trading that yellow line, right, which is a zigzag on a forward projection wave shape that I create, quite frankly, from the gravitational rotation of the moon around the planet, and that's within 1 minute resolution. But that's unique, and but to get to that stage, of course, there's 36 years work.
36
how
years.
to evolve and develop it, and then there's the engineering of how to make the Excel. Got it all to work, but the complexity of it was a massive spreadsheets, and they're going to be done absolutely right, and every minute updated every minute. And the wonderful thing about this is you just tell Claude, right, swap to Australian US dollars here at this time, right, and this level, blah blah blah. This is a forward projection. Here's the real wave, and this is what the wave is going to do. Right?
Yeah.
And
But you didn't get this off the bat straight away off Claude Code.
oh no, massive work.
Yeah, and
It's taken me 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
About Christmas time.
But what project did you start off first? Because you didn't tell it to do everything like this
No,
at first.
no.
What project did you start off?
Well, the wave sequence analysis that I spoke about before.
Yep, the 5 waves up, 7 waves
7
down.
waves down, and I gave it that because I wanted to learn how to use these AIs, right? And the AIs have got much better over that 5 months.
Yeah.
You know,
Drastically.
And I use Sonnet still, but I will go to what's the next one?
Yeah, Opus 4.8.
Opus 4.8.
Yeah.
And but of course they use about 5 times as many tokens, and they cost more money.
Yeah.
However, if it's a really complex product, and I'm yet to really use that, I prefer to help it.
Yeah.
And
But you basically started off slow. You fed the data slowly into Claude and trained it. You didn't feed it all this and try and build this out in over one night. You can't do it.
No.
There's no sense of doing that.
But that doesn't mean that in another year's time or 2 years' time, the smarty Claude
Yep.
will not be able to just swallow my Excel spreadsheet, which is 30-something years long, evolved all the time. It's like that artwork up there. You don't get that artwork in one go.
Yeah.
You do 11 evolutions of it, right?
Yeah.
And you turn around behind there. There's another one, right? There's another folly of mine. Yep. And that was 8.5 years building that sports car, right? Out of fiberglass and aluminium and steel. See the kids standing up the top there, top left-hand corner? They even had hair. And however, never finished it. But I needed another at that point. I thought about another $20,000 to continue, and in the end, I got married.
He was doing prompt engineering before he even knew what it was called. He knew that Claude needed context, so he gave it context visually. 50 years of knowing what a computer needs to do your job. applied to a tool that did not exist 5 years ago. And then something happened I did not expect. Claude came back with questions and Poppy corrected it. He does not talk about Claude Code like it is a tool he uses. He talks about it like someone he works with. And I think that is exactly the right relationship to have with it. He pushes Claude so hard it runs out of capacity and sends him to bed at 84.
Your brain, you young blokes there, this drives your brain day and night.
Yeah.
You're asleep, but you're not asleep. Your brain's ticking away, and you wake up and you think, oh, good idea. And you come in here and you scribble down something in your diary. And in the morning you look at it, and then you go back to sleep, you can relax.
Yeah.
You get your little notes, and then the next day you go to Claude and you say, hey.
And yeah, it's
It's a
grind.
absolutely wonderful period.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kraus.
there's a billion of you out there that'll want to, and will use this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
I created a workaholic. Now, I am not telling you that you need 50 years of experience to use AI well. That is not the point. The point is what Poppy brought to the screen, not his age, not the years, the attitude. He did not open Claude Code thinking he already knew how it worked. What can this do for the problem in front of me? He was not scared of being wrong. When something did not work, he described the problem, sent it back, and kept going from there. He was not precious about the output. He assessed it, corrected it, and improved it. And I want to say something real for a second. We are all essentially done. That's the thing that Poppy would say when it comes to this stuff. Nobody starts with the right workflow. Nobody starts knowing the right prompts or the right setup. We are all just figuring it out as we go. Poppy was figuring it out at 84. I'm figuring it out at 19. The only difference between people who make progress and people who stay stuck is whether they are willing to sit with not knowing for long enough to actually learn. Poppy was willing, no ego, no pride about already knowing. Just what does this do? How do I use it? So if you're sitting on something, a business idea, a system you want to build, something you want to automate, the question is not whether you have enough experience, is whether you are open enough to start before you are ready. AI did not make Poppy smart. He was already smart. AI just removed what was in his way. And that is available to anyone, at any age, with any background. If an 84-year-old can do it, honestly, what is your excuse? We sat together this past Saturday until nearly 2 in the morning. Same as always, charts, the week, what we saw, what we think is coming, and somewhere in the middle of that, he opened his terminal, showed me what he had been adjusting during the week, new indicators, different output formats, logs saving automatically. He did all of that himself without me. He doesn't call it Claude Code, by the way. He calls it the machine that thinks, which is honestly the most accurate description I have ever heard. I want to say one last thing, and I will keep this pretty short because I know you have already probably heard this a million times before. If you are a business owner or you are trying to figure out how to actually implement AI into what you are building, I run an AI consulting company called Elevana. We help businesses work out where AI fits, how to set it up, and how to actually use it, not just talk about it. And look, if an 84-year-old can sit down with Claude Code for the first time and connect it to his trading platform in an afternoon, you can do it too. If you want help, just book a call. Link is in the description. No pressure at all. Just come have a conversation. Easy.
All right. See you next Saturday, Poppy.
No,
Easy.
fantastic. All right. Yeah, hang on.
No. That's there.